Guys, we're here with Simon Wang, and what did you do?
I got top 32 at the North American WCQ.
And what did you play with?
I played Sky Striker SPYRAL.
Hey, why did you pick that deck?
So I like SPYRAL a lot, and the two best decks right now are Goki and Trickstar Sky Striker, and both of them have absolutely garbage mirrors. So I wanted a deck that I really enjoyed, and I didn't particularly want to pick up Trickstar or Goki, and I think pure Sky Striker has a bit too many difficulties in time. So I like SPYRAL a lot. I was going to play Pure, the going second variant, but a friend of mine told me to play the Sky Striker build like 2 days before the event. And then another friend of mine who was rooming with me lent me his engages, so I just went with this. Did really well, worked out.
Alright, let's see this deck profile.
Alright, so starting off with the Spirals, 3 Super Agent, 3 Tough. Behind every man is a greater man. Tough is just like, he's amazing going second. Some builds cut him going first, but if you're going second, you really need to play 3. So this was great. These two put in a lot of work all day. Yeah. And then you play one of the others. This is fairly standard. These 4 are all necessary. I would maybe consider cutting Last Resort when I was super tight on space, but Last Resort was fine all day. He's great for when you pass on like a sleeper Last Resort through interruption, so he just is important for securing victories. So 11 Spirals, pretty standard. I played Nightmare Corruptor Ibly, so this was something that we weren't really sure on because you're in a going second build, so Ibly's not maybe as useful as she could be. But the discard off Mermaid is really important, and she's an extra body on board. She helps make Saryuja, and I just wouldn't cut her because I think mostly the discard off Mermaid is just really important as a combo piece. In my round 10 match against Trickstar, I opened like Hornet and Ibly, and I went Hornet, Ibly, Phoenix, Mermaid, normal summon, sorry, Hornet, Kagari, Phoenix, made Mermaid, normal summon Ibly, revived the Phoenix, and I made Borreload, and I sat on Borreload the entire freaking match. And that won me game 2, so she was great. I opened her like a couple times. She was never really like what won or lost me the game, besides that one round 10 match, so she was great, wouldn't cut her. Now the weirdest ratio in the deck, I played 2 Ash, 2 Droll, and the Gamma package. So this was something that we were up pretty late the Friday night before the event debating. So originally it was 3 Ash and 3 Droll, and we didn't play Gammas. And I told my friend Kevin, I was like, I really want to play Gammas for this event. I just think it's the right thing to do. I really want to find room for Gammas. And we poured over like every card into the list. We were like, we should cut Monster Reborn, we should cut like whatever. And we ended up cutting the 3rd Ash, a 3rd Droll, a 3rd Called, and a 3rd Rescue to make room for the 4 of these. And Gammas were absolutely incredible the entire weekend. So this won me matches on its own. It hit Saryujas, it hit Candinas. When you played Engage and they drolled you on Engage, Gamma was incredible there, so I don't regret cutting Ash and Droll at all. The 3rds are sided, so this was fantastic. So only 7 hand traps. That made me a little worried against Goki, because you really do want more than 7 against Goki, but this was mainly built for Trickstar, and I only played 2 Gokis the entire weekend, and I got pretty lucky against both of them, so it worked out for me. Onto the spells. So that's 20 monsters. 3 Engage and 3 Hornet. Shout outs to Kevin for lending me these for the event. Shout out to Joey for lending me these for the profile. Just these 6, these were fantastic. You just get 2 monsters on board, and you make Phoenix, and you force reincarnation before they can hand loop you. That's mainly what it is. It gets bodies on board. A lot of the time, Trickstar or even Pure Striker will have a Shizuku, so they'll have another zone pointing to you, so the Phoenix doesn't get in the way of your combos, and when it does, you can just turn into a Mermaid, you can go Helix. So this forced disruption, this was just really consistent. In the regular going second build, you play Goods, but Goods has been just one of the worst bricks for me in testing, and just this forced out back row, this helped you combo, this helps you Nightmare spam, it makes Saryuja, it's just really excellent. I didn't play any other Sky Striker cards. I was considering like Widow Anchor, but it's just like this deck bricks hard enough as it is. You don't want to take away from that. In the future, I might side an Afterburner, because I think the one card I lost more to than any other card this whole weekend was Topologic Bomber Dragon, and Afterburner is just handy to out that. So I might consider siding that in the future, but this was perfect. Wouldn't recommend straying from it. And then 1 Resort, 3 Terraforming. You have to play 3 Resorts, it's the most important card in your deck. I didn't play Pseudospace because I think it's pretty bad. No one really plays Ogre anymore, and Pseudospace's main use was so that you could play the game after you get Ogred. And the only amount of the time it was useful was when you opened Resort and Terraforming, so you could get 2 Resort searches off at the same time, and that's just not really necessary anymore. It was a huge brick before when Ogre was popular, and now that it's not, I still wouldn't play it, so this is fine. You have to run through Terraforming just because this is so good. And this is also just discard bait for like Phoenix and whatnot, so.
Alright.
I played 2 Called by the Grave. This was originally 3. Like I said, I cut the 3rd one for the Gamma. So the theory behind Called by the Grave going second is that just because you're going second doesn't mean you lose any less hard to Ash or Joel. So Called is just really, really good going second. I main 2 just because I was comfortable cutting the 3rd. If you have Gammas in to stop against Joel as well, then you know it's not as bad having only 2. So there were times where I guess I missed a 3rd, but there were also times where I would open 2 Called and it would just be like part of a brick hand. So this was fine, wouldn't really change it.
I appreciate you asking.
1 big red. You don't really have room for 2. 2 is also kind of a brick, especially in this build. I think maybe in going second build without Sky Strikers, you might have room for 2, but 1 was fine. And you need to play at least 1, obviously. And then the broken 1 of spells, Rhoda, Foolish, 1 for 1, Reborn, Soul Charge. Not much to say, these are all kind of mandatory. Soul Charge was absolutely the MVP all weekend. This card won me matches on its own. My round 4 match in the Spiral Mirror. I was going second the first game. I got a Soul Charge at one point after he stopped my Helix, and I made a Tri-Gate board and he scooped. And game 2, I opened the Quick Fix Hornet combo with Soul Charge, and I extra linked him with a live Firewall and a Sleeper, and I just blew him out that game. I still feel really bad about that one because I just kind of won with Soul Charge, but like we take those, so not much to say. These are all great. We were actually debating cutting Reborn at one point just because I think the worst brick cards in the deck, or the worst brick hands, are the ones where you have too much revival and not enough combos. So we were actually considering cutting Reborn, but we ended up not. This won me a game in Top Cut, so yeah. And then 2 Spiral Mission Rescue. This was also originally 3 because you do want to open rescues when you open Sky Strikers. So it's not too terrible to be opening these. We were okay cutting the 3rd. And yeah, it's like 2 is great. You need at least 2, I would say, just because like you can't revive your Master Plan repeatedly when you have Resort up and you have to Unicorn away your Resort. So you need to be able to have at least 2 rescues for those scenarios. So 2 is fine, and this kept the deck at 40. So yeah, that's the main deck. 40 cards. No Upstart because there really just wasn't room for Upstart, and that's that. Extra deck, yeah. Unicorn, you need this. It spins back Resort as part of the combo. Phoenix, Cerberus, these are both great. I made Phoenix a lot more than Cerberus because I played against 6 Trickstar the entire event, so this is part of the reason you play Sky Strikers. It's just you want to force out Reincarnation. You just muscle through back row with Strikers before even committing to a normal summon at all, so these are both great. We played 2 Goblin. So when you go Kagari Hornet and you go into a Nightmare, you kind of waste a Nightmare Link too if you want to go into Mermaid after that to open up a zone. So you want at least 2 copies of one of the Link 2s. So I went with Goblin because he has targeting protection. And in the rare cases where you go first and you go through 2 Goblins doing the combo and you end on a Goblin next to your Tri-Gate, so it's untargetable, which is more important than ending on a Phoenix and having the battle immune. So you'd rather have the Widow Anchor protection. So 2 Goblin, this was great. In the Soul Charge game that I mentioned, I actually used both Goblins, so that was also fine. And then the 1 Mermaid, because you have to, it's out opposing Iblis, and you just summon your own Iblis, so this was also great. So I didn't play Griffin. I never really missed Griffin, and it just wasn't really necessary. It's like, we don't go first, so there's no real need to play Griffin in this deck. So 6 Nightmares. Link Force, Saryuja, Borload, Firewall. Saryuja was, I think, what I made the most out of these 3. So you go into this primarily for when they cherries you, and you have 2 Sky Striker monsters, you have your Hornet and your Kagari, and then you have 2 Spiral monsters on board. They drop the cherries, you can just go into Saryuja, and you can draw into combo pieces and just keep going off. But I actually never got cherried once the entire event, so that was a little interesting. I did make Saryuja, I think, 3 times, and there was one game where it won me the game by drawing into Resort. Resort got quick fix. I specialed it, big redded back my drone, just made Helix and popped off. I wouldn't have won that one without Saryuja, so that was great. Borload was just good to have on hand for opposing Borload, but I never really had Borload made against me. But like I said, this won me in my round 10. I just sat on Borload versus Trickstar the entire game, and it was great. So I wouldn't cut either of these. Firewall surprisingly came in the least out of these three. I made this in the Extra Link game, and I made this when I lost against Trickstar. Because I made the wrong play. I had an Ash in the graveyard. I shuffled it back with Resort instead of bouncing it in my hand because it was co-link. So I could have just recycled the Ash and won, but I made Firewall. I was like, I'll just have a bounce for his turn, and he just killed it with Afterburner, and I lost that one. So this actually came up the least of all these three, but I think they're all good. I would play all three. Definitely I would play all three before Griffin, so this was fine. I played Decode. This card is still super good. People kind of want to cut it because there's like, you know, you never need Decode to OTK, but if you get drolled and you open like a sleeper or something, then you really do need Decode to be able to put 8,000 damage on the board without being able to search. So I would never really cut this guy. He was just super, super good. You know, just old-fashioned, just having a lot of attack just really does a lot of work sometimes. So he was mainly for the OTK. Trigate, this is for mainly when you're made to go first, which didn't happen to me. This happened to me, I think, maybe 4 games the entire weekend. There was also one game where, 1 or 2 games where I was able to make Trigate going second. He's good at like banishing stuff, and sometimes if you open broke, you can even set up in the gate board going second, and that just wins you the game. So he's good. 2 double helix, really important. Never missed a third. I made the second a lot, so I wouldn't change this. I wouldn't play 3. This was great. Link Rebo, he wasn't as good as he's been in the past for me, but he's needed for when you have hands that start off with a quick fix summon, and you go into Link Rebo and you big red back your quick fix, and you have to use both of them to go into your Phoenix, so he's really necessary for that. And that actually happened to me twice in my top 32 match where I was trying to go for that combo where I summon the quick fix and I Link Rebo and then I big red him back and I make Phoenix, and the rest of my hand is live after that. But my opponent had a set Call by the Grave both games, so he banishes the quick fix and the red just fizzles and I just lose both games in top cut in like 10 minutes. So yeah, but he's important, I would still play him. And then the one Kagari, this is for cycling your Hornets, your Engages. I kind of missed the second, but there's no room. I would say all other 14 of these cards are more important than the second Kagari. I never missed Shizuku. I don't think I would play Shizuku. I know that Faisal Khan also played this deck at WCQ. He got top 32, and he played 2 Kagari, 1 Shizuku. I did not play that. I never really missed the Shizuku. And yeah, I was pretty happy with my extra deck. I made every single monster in this at least once the entire event, so I'm pretty satisfied with that. And then the side deck, the third Ash and the third Droll. These are just for matchups where they're good. Droll came in a lot, especially I think toward the second half of the event, where I just was realizing how important this was against Trickstar. I would side of the third Engage for Droll a lot because Engage was more prone to being hand looped, whereas Hornet is just better to force out Reincarnation without the hand loop. So this came in a lot. This came in versus everything that it was good versus. And then 2 Ogres. This was for Goki and Pendulum and ABC. This won me my game versus Pendulum in game 3. He made Electromite, I Ogred it, and he passed. So that's kind of the classic from last format. So this is still just as good versus Pendulum, and Pendulum's picking up a lot of steam, made it to the finals. This is good versus ABC as well, and it's just a good hand trap to have versus Goki. This is, I think, my second favorite hand trap, besides Gamma, to have against Goki, because whenever they make the Assault, and you're like, okay, that's fine, they kind of like get into the sense of security, and then they go into the Mermaid Firewall combo, where they go Mermaid Chainlink 1, Firewall Chainlink 2, and you just drop Ogre on the Firewall, and the Firewall dies, and they usually can't do anything after that, unless they have Soul Charge, and if they have Soul Charge, you're going to lose anyway, so Ogres are good. And then 2 Veilers. This is just for pretty much everything this is good against. This is really good against Trickstar. I didn't play Impermanences because I'm poor, and I couldn't find anyone to loan me Impermanences. And I think this is better than Impermanence against Trickstar because you can't light stage this, and if you have a monster on board, they can't Firewall or DK you if this is in your hand, but Impermanence doesn't do as much because they just light stage it. So I never actually got Firewall looped, but this was just good to have on hand. This came in versus Trickstar quite a lot. And generally, I just wanted 6 hand traps in the side, specifically against Goki, and against a lot of other board vomit decks, but mainly Goki, because I would just side out the 6 Sky Striker cards, and I would side in 6 hand traps. So I wanted to play 6. This was perfect. No real complaints about this either. 2 Gamma Seals. So shoutouts to Calvin Tahan for beating my ass with ABC the week before WCQ. He destroyed me like round 2 or something, and he was playing ABC. I didn't have Kaiju sided for that event, so I decided I would side Kaiju for this event, and round 1 I go up against ABC. I put in Gamma Seals game 2 and game 3, and Gamma Seal wins me game 3, so shoutouts to Calvin for that. Probably would not have gotten this far without him, so it's great. Third Call by the Grave. This is for matchups where this is just a really important card to have. So pure strikers, you hit the Ray. ABC, you hit the Buster. Third Call, which is good to have on hand. This was just cited. And then 3 Twin Twister, 3 Red Reboot. This is for back row decks. I only played one the entire event, and it was Paleo, and I didn't see either of these until I was already winning. I kind of drew a Twin Twister off a Nightmare, I believe, and I just never needed it. But these are just good to have. I didn't want to lose versus back row decks, and I felt like my main and my side were already good enough versus Trickstar that I didn't want to change much. I don't like siding in Twins against Trickstar Sky Striker because a lot of their back row is just chainable. They have Reincarnations, they have Scapegoats, they have Hornets, and so you don't really want to be like dropping Resource on a Twin Twister and they just chain their sets. So I didn't really put these in versus Trickstar ever. But these are just good to have. I would maybe change these out. I think, I don't have Evenlies, but if you had Evenlies, I would maybe consider playing those. I'm just not a big fan of the card in this deck, but this was great. No real problems with these. And yeah, that's basically the whole deck. I went 9-2 after day 1, and I finished 26th in Swiss. I played 6 Trickstar Sky Striker. I went 3-3 against them. Every single one of my losses were to Trickstar Sky Striker, and so yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Like, I wasn't expecting to make day 2, let alone top, so this was just really great for me.
Alright, well,
Yeah.
that's good. Well, you got any shout outs to make?
Yeah, okay. Shoutouts to Fodder Cannon Games. They sponsor me for big events I go to. If you're in the Charlotte area, they are one of the best stores to go to. They have, I think, the best price support in the region, so definitely check them out. Fodder Cannon Games. They have locals on Mondays and Saturdays. So yeah. Shoutouts to Herman Hansen for telling me to play this deck. So he told me not to play Pure. He told me to play Sky Strikers because they were broken. And I remember that when Sky Strikers came out, we were both like, this really, really sucks in SPYRAL. It's a free proxy dragon. Like, what are you going to do with that? But it's so much more than that. I was dead wrong. To everyone that I told was like, everyone that I said this engine was bad in SPYRAL, I was dead wrong. It's great. So thanks to Herman for that. Shout outs to Joey, Spencer, and Kevin for rooming with me, testing with me the night before, and loaning me cards. Everyone else from Charlotte also that we kind of met up after each round and we talked. Everyone on Discord was supporting me throughout the event, and shout out to Cimoooooooo for doing the deck profile and uploading to his channel, and that's about it.
Alright.
Alright, thanks.
Thanks for the deck profile.